Welcome to the Tea Huddle with Marissa and Kelly.
Your only source for gridiron gossip. If you've been watching the Aaron Rodgers documentary,
or if you only knew who he was because his brother was on The Bachelor,
then you're in the right place.
We're back. It's 2025. I mean, the episode last week came out in 2025, but we recorded it in 2024.
No, we're here in person in 2025.
Yes. Happy New Year, everyone. We have said goodbye to the regular season of football.
What a season it was.
There was drama. There was plays. There was all the stuff you want out of football on and off the field. And
here we are on to the playoffs.
Yes. And let's hope that the postseason is as juicy and dramatic as the regular season was.
Yeah, and you have your Lions.
Yes, they killed it. We'll talk about that game because it was dramatic and exciting. Even without fantasy players in, I still was invested. That's how I know.
Yeah, that's how you know it. They're your team.
Exactly. And that I think I officially care about football.
I'm so happy. Yeah. It's a new year. Yeah. New Marissa.
All it took was 3 fantasy teams and 1 podcast. And here I am.
And a winning Lions team. Which
yes. Right.
Didn't think that was going to happen a few years ago.
No. But before we go into all the top stories from everything on and off the field this week, Kelly, give us your rundown of everything that happened this past week.
All right. In week 18, the last games of the regular season, the Patriots took a page out of the Giants playbook and won the game against the Bills, therefore losing the first overall pick.
Like you've been so good at losing. Do it when it's important, you know?
Yeah, we'll get to that later. I have some thoughts on this. Okay. The Chiefs tanked 38-0 against the Broncos to knock the Bengals out of their playoffs, who they notoriously always have a tough matchup against. So there's some drama around that.
Losing when
intentional losing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Lions, as you said, beat the Vikings to secure the number 1 seed in the NFC and a bye for the first week of the playoffs.
Go Lions.
And Aaron Rodgers finally showed up and threw 4 touchdowns in what could be his last game ever. Dun, dun, dun.
So dramatic. Okay, there's so much to talk about, but I feel like first let's talk. We each separately watched the Aaron Rodgers documentary on Netflix, Enigma, this week, and we haven't discussed it yet. I'm dying to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, while Aaron is still somewhat on the field.
Yeah, or at least
let's talk about it.
At least
leaving the field.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, so before I watched it, there's like an influencer that I follow who is talking about it. She's like how I used to be. I've heard of Aaron Rodgers. I don't know anything about him. I'm going to watch his documentary. And she posted, I think he's great. I really like this guy. And then immediately after she said, okay, read all my DMs. Got it. I don't like this guy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. She was like, okay, hear you. He's an egomaniac. He's not a good teammate. He lies. Like, got it. Noted. Changed my mind. I feel like it's important to note that this is it's so one-sided. Like,
yes.
They're only interviewing people who have positive things to say about him. Nothing is backed up with, like, they like flash headlines across the screen, but they don't talk about who's saying these things, how often these things are being said. Like,
and I feel like all the interviews were like with his best friends from growing up, like not even anyone too relevant that I know of.
Yes. And it seems like he had approval on everything that came out. So I feel like we have to take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I guess starting from episode 1, definitely egomaniac. Like you can tell, like, he's really pissed he didn't get drafted like top 5, top 10. I think he was drafted like 24th overall. And so that really got to him.
Yeah. Devastating to be picked in the first round of the NFL draft. What a hardship.
And then he's like not even starting. He's behind Brett Favre.
Right. And there was drama between him and Brett Favre. Yes. I feel like he acknowledges that he has an ego issue, but it doesn't seem over time like that issue is being worked on.
Yeah, I'd say episode 2, that's where they really get into him and his ayahuasca trips.
Yeah, or Aya, as he calls it. He goes, I've done Aya 9 times. He reminds me of like the first 8th grader who smokes weed. They're like, yeah, I know about marijuana.
Yeah.
He's like,
he's exactly like that. Honestly, I found the second episode like for the whole series the most endearing. Like he realized he has an ego and he's taking this Aya to address that problem.
I think self-improvement is
and
great.
I was like, okay, he knows, he realizes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it fixes it, but at least he knows he has a problem.
Yeah. The thing in the second episode that annoyed me most of all is he's talking about how he really learned to challenge the institutions he grew up with, like religion and politics. Yes. And the thing that really annoyed him so much about politics is that, we pretend it's a two-party system, but it's really one party, the party of like the wealthy. So then he considers running as RFK's VP. Okay, you are two wealthy, rich white men. Like, what do you you think you're going to solve the issue with only wealthy white men being at the center of politics by being a wealthy white man at the center of politics? Like, you're not qualified. You have because you read self-help books. That part annoyed me. Go stay in Costa Rica and work on your ego. I feel like
stay down there.
Keep American politics out of it. We have enough problems over here.
I know if he does retire, I think that's next that we'll be seeing Aaron in the White House.
Yeah.
But let's not jump ahead.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened yet.
Yeah. But he talks about like all his struggles, how hard of a time he had with
being a perfectionist.
And a lot of this does make sense, that you spend your whole life striving for something and then you get it, and then what? Like there's probably an emptiness or a realization that one thing didn't solve all your problems. But the hardship you're describing, this like difficult thing, is that you won the Super Bowl. Like people have problems, and I don't think winning the Super Bowl is amongst
But
them.
He only won it once.
It's true. That's true.
That's not enough.
He had a playoff curse.
Yeah.
I didn't know about any of that. I did know about him being on The Bachelor, which he wasn't on The Bachelor. His brother was on The Bachelor. He called that a bullshit reality show that his brother only went on to get famous.
I know, they're still together.
Yeah, they are. They
married?
Not married.
Okay.
Oh no, yeah, they're married.
I think they did get married.
They did get married, but they were engaged for a long time and then got married. They are a beautiful, happy couple as far as we can tell from the internet, and they like host HGTV shows or something like Discovery Plus home renovation shows. Good for them,
I hope that Aaron Rodgers reconciles with his family.
Me too.
He does say that there's room for that.
He does.
So
that would be great.
Hoping for maybe that to happen once football's over and his perfectionist era has ended.
Maybe like the 11th or 12th Aya experience ceremony.
He'll take his mom down there with him.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
That's what Jordan Poyer did. I only know who Jordan Poyer is because his wife is a Instagram model, very like, not naked photos, but borderline. And on like the very, very, very beginning of Call Her Daddy, they talked about Rachel Bush and Jordan Poyer. I think he was like sliding into one of the girls' DMs, and then his wife slid in and was like, "Get away from my husband." Just seems like messy drama. So then when in Enigma, when he talked about how Jordan Poyer was struggling with his marriage and his alcohol use, and that he got his shit together after ayahuasca. So that's great. If it can help people and get their lives together, stop sliding into strangers' DMs.
All for it.
Do that. If you're married. If you're not, slide away. But like him talking so much about how hard it has been to be a public figure and how he hates his personal life. Why did you do this documentary? It's more about you and your personal life. And
I think it's his way to like tell his side of the story.
Reclaim the narrative.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers versus the media. That seemed like the biggest theme.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the media. Now he's trying to tell his side of it.
Yeah.
Which, I guess everyone deserves that.
Yeah.
But I will say, getting back to this being his potentially last time on the field, at least for the Jets, in the documentary, they show his last game with Green Bay. He walks off with Randall Cobb, kind of like arm in arm. He says that he asked Randall, his like best friend on the team, to walk out with him. It was an emotional moment for them. And we kind of saw that this past week when he walked off the field with Devonta Adams. hand in hand. No,
like Thelma and Louise off into the distance.
In a dramatic fashion that made it seem like it might be his last time doing that, at least for the Jets. Potentially ever.
His post-game interview, he talked about like, I've had the chance for years to do what I love and what I've loved since I was a kid. It felt like it could be perhaps his final post-game interview. So we'll see if Aaron Rodgers comes back, where he comes back to, if it's not the Jets, if it's somewhere else. You know, for whatever it's worth, he is captivating. Like you sort of want to see what happens next. I at least want to see what happens next, even if he's so annoying sometimes.
And speaking of dramatic exits.
Yes, he was not, or potentially, the only one this past week. Tyreek Hill, who is no stranger to drama on and off the field, sort of quit this week in the last quarter of the season. He stormed off the field, exited the game in the fourth quarter. Coach Mike McDaniel afterwards said, I was informed that he was unavailable right before a drive. I was not informed that it was a new injury. Like normally if in the middle of a game a player is unavailable, it's because they're hurt.
Yeah, you don't just storm off. You could see he was like muttering, screaming to himself as he stormed off the field, like having a little tantrum.
Big tantrum.
It's the last game of the season. Like, can't you just wait it out a few more minutes?
It's going to be
fourth
over
quarter
in like 6 minutes. You'll be okay. He said later, this is my first time that I haven't been in the playoffs, man. For me, I've got to do what's best for me and my family, whether that's here, whatever the case may be. I'm finna open the door for myself. I'm out, bro. It was great playing here, but at the end of the day, I got to do what's best for my career. I'm too much of a competitor to be just out there. So everybody was like, did he just quit? Did he quit during the game? And then did he formalize his quitting after? And then he tweeted, love Finn Nation, blessing y'all, open doors for the Hill family forever. Nothing but respect and love. The tweet was sort of confusing because there was wrong punctuation and all the right places. The comma was in such a weird place. It took me like 3 tries. But so then everyone was like, okay, he totally quit.
Yeah, that sounds like a goodbye Miami post.
Yeah, thanks for the good times. Then he changed his profile picture on Twitter to a Photoshop picture of his head on Antonio Brown's body when Antonio Brown famously quit in the middle of the game, took off his jersey, left the field when he quit the Bucks in week 17 a few years back.
Very similar, minus the taking off his jersey part, but
yeah. But then Mike McDaniel said that they spoke on Tuesday to clear the air with the GM, and Tyreek never requested a trade. He still has 2 years left on his contract. And then Tyreek changed his Twitter profile picture back to a picture of him in a Dolphins uniform.
I didn't realize he changed it back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, whatever McDaniel said must have really stuck with him.
Either temper tantrum was over, or his agent was like, "Hey,
you actually have 2 years
literally
left
in a contract. That's how contracts work. Go back to work. You have 1,000 kids to take care of across various state lines. So maybe you want to
keep that job, which I'm sure many teams would trade for him. But
yeah, and it's probably so frustrating that the same team you were on last year was great and this year it wasn't. But
hey, next year is a whole new year.
Yeah,
who knows what the quarterback situation will be.
Maybe Tua will.
They at least need a solid backup.
And then the drama in Miami doesn't stop there. Cornerback Jalen Ramsey sort of followed suit. He posted on his Instagram story this whole long story about a violin player who was playing in the subway, but then he also played in a Boston theater, and then he part of it at the bottom where I feel like it really sort of
like a violin playing like sad music type thing.
No, it was like this player, he played in the subway and everybody walked by, but then they paid $100 to hear him in the theater, whatever. Yeah. But then in the little story, he said, there are brilliantly talented people everywhere who aren't receiving the recognition and reward they deserve. But once they arm themselves with the value and confidence and remove themselves from an environment that isn't serving them, they thrive and grow. So it also sort of makes it sound like he's
getting ready to head out of there too.
So they're dropping like flies over there in Miami, but also maybe not. Maybe they're just throwing tantrums and then
Got to clean up that locker room.
Yeah. It's bad vibes if everyone's having Twitter tantrums.
Everyone's very vocal about how unhappy they are.
Yeah.
Well, those guys aren't happy, but we do have some very happy campers this week who hit their incentives in the last week of the season.
I was on Twitter last week reading about incentives, which I know we talked about last year. So it's written into their contracts that if a certain thing happens in the season, they get an extra like $1 million. And a tweet was like, if you want to bet, you should bet on these things because they're really probably going to happen because the players want them to, and whatever. So I downloaded FanDuel.
You made some bets?
I downloaded FanDuel and was like, the first person we're going to talk about is Mike Evans. And he had something to hit. And I was like, okay, I'm going to bet that he hits it. And then I looked and it was like everybody's betting the same exact thing. That if I put a $5 bet, which is what I was going to do because there's such a gambling problem in this country, I feel like it's a slippery slope and I didn't want to fall into the trap. So it was like $5. I would have won $2.50 on the bet. So I deleted.
Hey, that's 50%.
I deleted FanDuel off my phone. I didn't make any bets. But anyway.
If you bet against it, would you have made more?
Yeah, probably.
Just wondering.
Yeah.
Would have been a bad bet, though.
Definitely. Because, spoiler alert, it happened. But Mike Evans, break down what he had to do, what he did do.
Yeah, Mike Evans is probably the most exciting incentive that was reached this past week. It was the last few seconds of the game. Instead of kneeling at the end of the game to like end the clock, the Bucs ran a play to ensure that Mike Evans surpassed his 1,000 receiving yards to get him $3 million.
Damn. That's a team with good vibes, unlike the Dolphins. Like the team was like, let's
make it happen for our buddy. Yeah. And it's his 11th season getting over 1,000 receiving yards. And he's now tied with legend Jerry Rice. So very exciting. The whole team stormed out to celebrate, which was so cute.
So cute.
Love to see that.
Mike Evans seems like such a good guy. And I would be remiss not to share his backstory because this is so pre-T huddle when I was watching football sort of against my will. And I was like, oh my God, this is so boring because as I've said before, I wasn't watching it. I was just looking at it and I didn't know what was going on. But then I was like, okay, how can I care about this? If I care about the players, if these people are interesting to me, that would make this all
so
more
he was one of the first players you looked into.
Yes. So he caught the ball. I Google him. I go to his Wikipedia. Okay, so this is what I find out, and now you all can find out about it too if you don't know already.
No, I don't think I know.
Do you? Okay, so his parents had him when they were teenagers. His mom was 14 years old.
Oh wow,
so young,
very young.
And his father, who was also a teenager, was physically abusive towards his mother. So his uncle, his mom's brother, went over to the house one night when he found out about the abuse and shot and stabbed and killed his dad while Mike Evans was 9 years old asleep upstairs.
Oh, no.
Isn't that so crazy? So his uncle is currently serving life in prison for killing his dad.
Yikes.
So crazy. But Mike Evans with his wife, they together have a foundation that provides scholarships and opportunities to kids impacted by domestic violence. They have 4 kids. They just seem like such a happy family. His whole team loves him.
Of abuse.
He's yeah, exactly. It seems like he is just like such a loving family man. His teammates love him. And what a crazy freaking story.
Yes, that $3 million is going to go to something good, potentially his charity.
He wrote a kid's book about like rules to get through middle school. He just seems like the cutest guy. So we love Mike Evans and his teammates love him. And
congratulations on your new bonus.
All your money.
All your money.
Okay, who else got incentives this week?
The next one, he got a little less money than Mike Evans. Sam Martin, he is a punter. So it's fun to see. I didn't know punters could get incentives, actually.
Yeah.
And this happened during the Bills-Patriots game. He plays for the Bills. And instead of kicking a field goal, the coach, Sean McDermott, opted to punt from the Patriots' 35-yard line. So they were basically at a place where they could easily make a field goal. But instead of making that decision to get points on the board, they punted it back to the Patriots.
Oh.
Just so this player could meet his incentive to get $100K.
Wow.
quick 100K bonus. And
were they winning already, or they didn't need to win?
They didn't need to win. They didn't really care. But I think they also maybe were trying to sabotage the Patriots a little more. Right. And they're like, we're not going to get any more points, and you're going to win this game and lose the number 1 pick.
Right. They're like, if we can screw over, because they're in the same division, right?
Yes.
If we can screw over a division rivalry, get our little punter some cash, and
that's a good coach.
Those two. Let's do those two things.
Some good coaching right there.
Yeah. So
that's how you make your team happy and your division rivals unhappy.
And probably your front office happy too.
Yeah. Congratulations, Sam Martin.
Yeah, way to go. Don't spend it all in one place.
And then the last one I'm going to mention is Geno Smith, quarterback for the Seahawks. The Seahawks didn't make it to the playoffs. He had a great game, Geno, and took home $6 million in bonuses. He had to do 3 things. They had to get 10 wins, the Seahawks, which they're now the only team that has 10 wins that did not make it to the playoffs. So that's got to hurt.
Yeah.
If only they're in the AFC, because the AFC sucks this year. 2, he had to have a over 70% passer rating. So he had that based on his stats during the last week, and over 4,300 passing yards. So congratulations, Geno. Sorry your team didn't make it to the playoffs, but $6 million.
Yeah, the $6 million bonus probably helps soften that blow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not bad.
Yeah. Good for them. But more importantly, good for their team who helps make it happen. I think that's nice.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So then on the other side of the coin, so this is the side of like people who had great weeks, they won and they made their money and they're happy. A lot of people had very bad weeks this week. So apparently the Monday after the regular season ends is referred to as Black Monday because the dark cloud of firings comes over the coaches.
So it's right after the last game of the season. And usually they fire them on Monday because that's when coaches have to speak to the media is on Mondays. So they fire them before they speak to the media. Otherwise, it gets a little awkward.
That makes so much sense because I saw on Monday a coach who was maybe going to be fired, maybe wasn't, but then was fired. He said, like, yeah, they told me I can come speak to you guys.
Yeah.
And it was because that makes sense that usually if you're going to get fired, you don't speak to the media right before.
Yes. I guess there are 3 coaches who have been fired this week. Gerard Mayo of the Patriots, Antonio Pierce of the Raiders, and Doug Peterson of the Jags. 2 of them technically were not fired on Black Monday, which is unusual.
Yeah.
So first that we'll talk about is Gerard Mayo. He was fired on Sunday right after the win against the Bills.
Like immediately, like the game was still on the TV when I saw the tweet that he had been fired. Like he must have been standing in the hallway on his way to the locker room.
Immediately fired. And I've never seen a coach get fired so abruptly after a game. And the thought was like, was he fired because they won that game and they therefore lost the first overall pick? Right.
So I didn't know this. So in case anyone out there doesn't know, the worst team in the league gets the best pick in the draft the following year. So if you're doing pretty badly by the time weeks 17, 18 come around, you might as well do really badly. Because if you're not going to make it to the playoffs, if you have a terrible record, might as well get a really good pick.
I mean, I gave the Giants a really hard time about this last week because they had the number 1 pick and then they won in week 17 and then the Patriots got the first overall pick. And so now they lost that. It's just being tossed around everywhere. And I'm not that upset about it. I mean, obviously it would be great to have the first overall pick. We'd get Travis Hunter, kind of some new action. New action in the Patriots offense, defense. He could do it all, this Travis guy.
Yeah.
But we have a quarterback, and I feel good about that. And not only do we have 1 quarterback, we've shown that now we have 2 quarterbacks because
Joe Milton
kicked ass against the Bills. I mean, sure, he was playing the 3rd string players, but he looked phenomenal, and they better not trade him. I'll be so upset.
And he did a backflip.
Yeah. So I hope we keep him. You never know what happens to Drake May. I mean, I hope hopefully everything's good, but I want to have 2 potential quarterbacks.
Yeah.
4th round pick, it's fine. We'll be fine. We probably would have traded away the 1st round pick anyway.
So people think that maybe Patriots ownership or GM told Gerard Mayo to lose the game. And then when he didn't lose the game, they fired him right on the spot.
That's what some people think.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
Oh, you don't?
I know Robert Kraft and Gerard have like a very close relationship.
Yeah.
I think I heard, this is a rumor.
I love a rumor.
That Mike Vrabel who was the coach of the Titans last year. He was fired from the Titans. He used to play for the Patriots. He has been interviewing with the Jets for their head coach position. And I think Robert Kraft heard that and said, we cannot have him go to the Jets. We want Vrabel. So we're going to fire Mayo right now to get him onboarded as soon as possible. That's my thought.
Yeah.
And
then on either Sunday or Monday, Vrabel changed his profile picture. So many profile picture secrets happening this week, or like coded messages. He changed it back to a picture of him playing when he was a Patriot.
Exactly. So I think it's looking likely that he'll be the Patriots' next head coach. I hope that's the case at least.
Yeah.
And I thought like he was available last year, so why didn't we pick him up as the coach then? Mm-hmm. But I guess Mayo had like a $10 million buyout clause in his contract. So maybe Kraft was like, you can try being head coach. If it doesn't work out, we'll move on next year, which is like kind of shitty to Mayo. I feel bad for the guy. Kraft spoke out about basically how Gerard Mayo is set up to fail, how the team was not very good going into the season and he had no experiences of head coach and he's firing him after one season. That kind of sucks, but it's tough out there. And I'm looking forward to whatever the Patriots do next. I think I'm feeling optimistic for next year.
Me too then. If you are, so am I. Something that's funny to me about the coach firings and all of that is that they announce publicly who they're interviewing or who they like. The Jaguars posted on Instagram, we have requested interviews with, and then listed out people, including Robert Saleh.
I saw that. And
it's just like so funny. Like, what if your job was like, we have requested that Kelly be interviewed for this job? Like,
and then because if you didn't get it.
Yeah. I feel like it's just so funny to me when I saw that on Instagram this week.
Yeah, I like to get a heads up on who it could be at least.
Yeah. And what they're changing their profile pictures to.
The other coach that was fired, not on Black Monday, was Antonio Pierce, coach of the Raiders. He was fired on Tuesday. So we were saying that like they fire them. That was the coach you're alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
He was fired after the press conference on Monday. He thought he had a job. Turned out Tuesday, he did not have a job anymore.
Tough.
Very awkward. Not a good way to do that.
Yeah. So ESPN posted on Instagram like a graphic, fired Antonio Pierce. And Patrick Mahomes liked that post. When I saw a screenshot of it, when I went to go look myself, he had not liked it. So I think he unliked it. I'm sure it was just an accidental tap, but people are like, Patrick Mahomes hates Antonio Pierce.
They're division rivals.
Oh, so maybe he was happy he got fired. And then his publicist called him and was like, unlike that post. But yeah, lots of drama on socials this week. Thanks, everybody. What a gift.
And then the last coach fired was Doug Peterson. No surprise there. I think we all expected this to happen.
Yeah. Other news coming out of Jacksonville, not related to a coach or a firing, but Trevor Lawrence just had his baby this past week. So
congratulations.
Congratulations.
I hear it's a 10-pound baby.
Do you? It looked really big in the photo.
After saying it, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I should know.
I think it's a girl. Hold on.
She's going to be a football player.
Yeah. Girl. Yeah. She did look like a big baby.
Yeah. Over 10 pounds.
Wow.
God bless.
God
Mrs. Lawrence.
Marissa is her name.
Marissa Lawrence.
I only obviously remember because it's also mine.
No, you know everything.
Yeah.
Well, congrats, Trevor Lawrence. Not congrats, Doug Peterson.
No.
In our first segment, we give Marissa 60 seconds to rant about whatever she wants. It may or may not have anything to do with football. Here is Marissa's Minute.
Minute.
You're allowed this minute because the regular season's over and you need to let off some steam. The clock is about to start. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, and go.
Okay, so this isn't a rant. It's just something that I want to talk about, and it's only very mildly related to football, so I feel like I'm just going to squeeze it in real quick to a minute. Okay, so Kylie Jenner's best friend from childhood, Stassi Baby, is her social media handle, but Anastasia Kornelkow, I forget how to say her last name, we'll call her Stassi. So back in the day, she was dating Vine star Sammy Wilk. In like 2016 or so, this was big, like, you know, social media news. Then they broke up. They haven't been seen together in years. Then this week, so since then, she's dated all sorts of people. She dated Jaden, a TikTok star. She dated Noah Centineo for a while. She was maybe dating Travis Barker's son, Landon, recently, which is weird because of the connection with the Kardashians and her best friend, Kylie. But this week, she was seen back together with Sammy Wilk at a Bucks game because, oh my God, time zone, because Sammy Wilk's sister is married to Baker Mayfield. So it's a little bit related to football. It's not exactly football news, so I didn't want to waste a whole segment on it, but I just wanted to talk about it because it's a little bit related to football. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for that.
Now that that's over with, I'm a little out of breath. We are going to move on to our second segment, which is in fact related to football, and it's called How Embarrassing. How embarrassing. Oops. Cute. Our jingles never disappoint. Thank you, Andrew, for all of those. A few different embarrassing things happened this week. Kelly, kick it off with the first embarrassing moment.
First up, we have an embarrassing moment for John Mara, thanks to Saquon Barkley. John Mara is the owner of the Giants, and as we know, Saquon Barkley used to play for the Giants before he was traded to their division rivals, the Eagles. There is a new commercial that launched this past weekend for Unisom, which is a sleep aid featuring Saquon Barkley. It goes like this. Saquon says, "I heard some of you are having trouble sleeping, so I wrote you a lullaby. It sure is tough to lose sleep over football. Not for me, though."
So funny because as we've talked before in the Hard Knocks, there's a clip that keeps coming back where John Mara says, "I'm going to have real trouble falling asleep at night if Saquon goes to the Eagles," which is where he went. He had an amazing season, and now he's being trolled.
Yeah, Saquon is
sleeping commercial.
Addressing that moment in this commercial and calling him out.
It's pretty funny.
And what's even funnier is Mara responded, which he handled this pretty well. He reached out to Saquon and said, "How could you not ask me to be in it? Tossing and turning would have been great. There's an acting gene in our family. You know, Rooney Mara.
Yes, I didn't know this until recently. So Rooney Mara and Kate Mara, sisters, actresses, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, House of Cards, etc. Their paternal family, grandfather, etc., and maternal grandfather family are the Rooneys who
own the
Steelers and the Maras who own the Giants, which is
it's a football
crazy.
Family.
And that they're like a Hollywood family, not a football family.
They do it all.
Yeah.
And that's why he could have been in that commercial.
Yeah. He has acting gene. Yeah.
He's got the acting gene. But yeah, embarrassing because the Giants had the season that they had without Saquon, and there's Saquon sleeping peacefully at night.
He doesn't even need
playoffs.
Unisom. He can drift right to sleep. But I thought it is less embarrassing because John Mara sort of
he handled it
well.
Agreed.
Another sort of embarrassing moment from this past week in Sunday's Cowboys-Commanders game, kicker Brandon Aubrey kicked off, as you do, kicked the ball, and it went off field and bonked a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader right on the head.
I saw this. It looked so painful.
It really did. She handled it so well. There are tears in her eyes. Like she was trying, because as we know from watching the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader show, it's all about poise. You need to be poised and classy and never let them see you sweat.
When someone knocks you over.
Even when you get kicked in the head with a football. I read that she is a rookie member of the team. So
Oh, props to her.
Yeah.
For handling that well.
Handling it well. The next day she posted on her Instagram story that she is all okay and that Brandon Aubrey wrote her a handwritten apology note.
Ooh, is this a love story starting?
Wouldn't it be great if they fell in love? He wrote he hand wrote it on what looks like the back of a game program or something. I think he just like found the quickest.
Did he leave his number on it too?
Maybe she didn't include
it's not allowed, I guess.
No fraternizing with the players. But he wrote, Michelle, so sorry about hitting you on KO. Hope you are doing well. Love watching y'all.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. I feel like it's a little embarrassing for her and also a little embarrassing for Brandon Aubrey.
More for him. That's a terrible kick.
It's a terrible kick. And you like sort of assaulted with your kick. A girl who's just trying to cheer you on.
Right.
That's all she's trying to do out there.
I hope something comes from this. This could be a really great Lifetime movie.
Yeah. One of the Commander players walked over to like be like, are you okay? And I was like,
maybe
they should fall in love.
Somebody should fall in love.
Exactly.
Another embarrassing story from this past weekend. As we talked about, the Lions played the Vikings, and the Lions kicked their ass.
Sure did.
But before the game, the Vikings spent $2 million to buy around 2,000 tickets at the Lions Stadium. They got tickets right behind the visiting bench so they could be close to the Viking side. They bought the tickets for like $1,000 a piece and were selling them to season ticket holders for around $200, which is awesome. If I was a Viking season ticket holder, I would have gone for sure.
Definitely.
However, not a good game.
No, it was a great game for the Lions.
Great game, Lions. The Vikings could not get into the end zone. They went 0-4 in the red zone, including having 2 turnovers. Sam Darnold just could not make it happen, and it's embarrassing for all of those Vikings fans who are then surrounded by Lions fans, I'm sure being tortured throughout the whole game.
Yeah, and embarrassing for ownership who just wasted
$2 million.
$2 million.
For no reason.
Yeah. It did not bring the energy that they were hoping it would. And then the last embarrassing moment of the week, which we sort of talked about, is Mike McDaniel right now. Just having your players quit on you left and right, posting stories about violins and pictures on Twitter about walking off in the middle of the game. It's got to be tough.
Yeah.
And
didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not a good look. But at least he wasn't fired. Not yet.
So true. Yeah. More embarrassing to be fired. Is it more embarrassing to be fired or to have all your players try to quit on you? Toss up. Both probably don't feel great.
Yeah, because usually if your players are starting to quit on you, you're going to be fired next.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our final goss.
Final goss.
What do you have for us, Marissa?
All right. Well, a big piece of goss has left just the football world and gone into the mainstream goss world and taken us all by storm this week. An explosive lawsuit from a hairstylist against Fox Sports Network was made public on Sunday, and I'm here to fill you in and tell you all about it. So the hairstylist Nushin Faraji filed a 42-page lawsuit against Fox Sports Network alleging sexual workplace harassment. She worked at Fox Sports from 2012 until this past August of 2024. The defendants in the suit are Fox Sports, the president of content, Charlie Dixon, former host Skip Bayless, and current host Joy Taylor. The lawsuit says that Faraji brings forth this action because for over a decade at Fox, she was forced to endure a misogynistic, racist, and ableist workplace where executives and talent were allowed to physically and verbally abuse workers with impunity.
Did the Me Too movement do nothing?
Right.
I'm getting flashbacks.
And it's weird because Fox News...
Yeah. Was that
this happened? Everybody was sexually harassing everybody, and it all came to a head. But the whole time it was going on at Fox Sports too, and they just skipped right by them. Not until this week.
Yeah, sports networks. They're like, oh, there's no females there.
Yeah, exactly. So the suit claims that the network executive Charlie Dixon forcefully touched her and used his position to sexually harass her and other women. It also claims that host Skip Bayless offered her $1.5 million to have sex with him, which is so much money. Like, desperate much.
Yikes.
One part of the suit that's circulating says that he kept coming on to her, and she says, like, Skip, you have a wife. And his response is, aren't you Muslim? Doesn't your dad have like 3 or 4 wives?
Oh my God.
And she said, my dad is dead. And then he looked uncomfortable and she made an excuse to leave.
Wow.
That's part of the lawsuit.
Well, good on her for
yeah,
clapping back, but
right.
disgusting.
So Skip Bayless left the network in August, which is when she says she was fired. So probably
Complaint.
a connection there. Yeah. But then the real drama comes from, a host, Joy Taylor. Faraji alleges in the suit that Joy Taylor had consensual sexual relationships with both Charlie Dixon, the same exec who was harassing Faraji, and host / former player Emmanuel Acho, who like hosted some sort of a bachelor reunion or something. That's why he looks familiar to me. That she was sleeping with both of them to secure her job as a co-host on a show.
Quote unquote consensually.
Yes. So Faraji says that she knew that Joy Taylor was sleeping with the executive, and that then when she found out she was also sleeping with Acho, that she said, like, why are you doing this? This isn't good. Like, Dixon's going to be mad. And that Joy Taylor allegedly was like, oh, it's fine. Once I get what I want, I'll just claim that he was harassing me, and then I'll get exactly what I want out of all of this. Basically, that she masterminded it herself, that I'm just going to like sleep my way to the top, sleep my way to get this job. The fallout of all of this, Emmanuel Acho has been deleting videos off his Instagram and Twitter where he's like talked about how she's the best co-host. There's one video where he introduces her and he's like, nobody in any shape or size could do what she does, sort of insinuate. She's very voluptuous.
Okay.
And so talking about her size, talking about how she's the best co-host, that she's overcome so much misogyny and sexism to be a woman of color working in sports. He deleted that video because like,
yeah,
he was
you're
pushing,
the one
he
who's
was pushing for her to get the job because they were having sex with each other, allegedly. Then just on Tuesday, the former co-host, so the guy whose job she took,
okay,
he's a former player, Marcellus Wiley. He spoke out implying that this all cost him his job. He's like, what if allegedly a co-host was replaced because he wasn't sleeping with the executive and the co-hosts and everybody else? But then last bit of fallout, another former Fox Sports host, Jason Whitlock. I don't know who this person is. He sucks, by the way. He had the worst take on this that I've seen. A video of him rambling for over 5 minutes about how proud he is of himself for staying away from her. He goes, I knew what I'm capable of. If I had been around her giant rack and her beautiful peanut butter skin, I know what women like that are capable of and what I'm just a man. And he just kept talking about how, I was just like,
Fox Sports.
What's going on over there?
Do they have an HR department? This is ridiculous.
Like, hello? He said that he just kept talking about her jugs and her rack and her peanut butter skin. And then he's posting on Twitter like memes of peanut butter jugs in a bra. Like, first of all, are you in 8th grade? No, he's on YouTube because that's where he's accepted. And he just kept talking about her qualifications. He was like, this is a woman who has no business talking sports with men. These are men who know about sports. And she only got this job because she slept her way to the top. So if this is all true and she really was like, I'm going to sleep with both of these men because one of them will get me the job, you are reinforcing what horrible people like Jason Whitlock think of women. So don't do that if you did do that. And if you didn't, then, oh, sorry, you're being painted in this way. But what a mess.
But also, these men should not be sleeping with their employees.
Yes. So they were back on the air on Monday, and she wore a very high-necked top, which I think is not her usual style.
God, hide those peanut butter jugs. Sorry.
I mean, yeah. If you, I'm not encouraging anybody to
Everyone
go to his
will
Twitter.
be thinking about that now.
I know. But it really is like an 8th grade boy with a graphics department and just like the most adolescent sense of humor. Ugh,
So
this guy sucks.
So they're
Jason
all
Whitlock, you
still
suck.
employed by Fox Sports.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. As of today. I mean, as of the time of this recording.
Yeah, curious to see what actions they take. Even if it was consensual, that relationship probably cannot happen.
I would say. And if she did have no qualifications and only got these jobs because she was like sleeping with and blackmailing people into getting them, then maybe she should not have those jobs.
Well, now
anymore.
she's qualified.
Yeah. Right. Now she has a history as a Fox,
Yeah.
as a sports host. So
Fox is a mess.
it's a big mess.
New Year, same Fox being a mess.
Yep, exactly.
Same misogyny at Fox.
Running rampant.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Tea Huddle.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We are psyched to watch the playoffs with you all.
Yes, and provide juicy updates from what's going on off the field.
The players whose season just ended might be getting into all sorts of trouble.
True. Everybody's going to be just driving around drunk because they don't have practice in the morning. So if that does happen, you'll hear about it from here. Either way, please check us out next week.
And until then, stay juicy.